The question that we're looking at now is deepening yoga, improving yoga, right? This is, of course, the continuing lecture subject of all the people who talk, right? And Baba says to us, this is the number one thing. This is the thing in which Maya gives obstacles. Maya doesn't give obstacles in knowledge, only in yoga. Some of you may have read the Gita, Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Have you read Gita? How many read the Gita? So you must have seen that there are sections of it in which the subject of yoga is taken up. What is yoga? And the yoga that we do, we call it Raj Yoga. Baba says that he teaches us Raj Yoga. And Raj Yoga is described in a variety of ways. Raj Yoga is the sovereign yoga, the king amongst all yogas. Raj Yoga is the yoga by which we achieve sovereignty. And there's something which is called Vashikaran Mantra. Have you heard about that? No? Vashikaran Mantra, the mantra to bring everything under its influence. And so that is Manmana Bhav. Manmana Bhav, how do we understand Manmana Bhav? Sometimes it is said, turn your mind to me alone. Sometimes it is said, be mine with your mind. And so Manmana Bhav is really what yoga is all about. We have the first mantra is Om Shanti. We always start everything, end everything, continue everything with Om Shanti, right? So Om Shanti, the first step of yoga, the first thing we have to do is to be at peace with ourselves. And now, I don't know if you've ever tried to have one whole day without any waste thoughts. Have you tried? Have you succeeded? It's really, you have to be very, very attentive on yourself to do that. And to really make sure what you're thinking. Do I, the soul, know what thoughts I am producing throughout the day? This is a very, very good exercise because we can become more conscious of when we're not paying so much attention, then unnecessary, meaningless, waste of time thoughts produce themselves. And so we have to actually do a lot of work to make sure that the mind doesn't do that. Most people become occupied with service. I think many of us here are teachers, right? How many of you are teachers? Everyone, right? Pretty much. So we occupy ourselves with service, and so then the mind becomes occupied with service, and we say, well, that's Baba's service that I'm thinking about. And yet that doesn't necessarily enable us to have yoga. Dari Gulzar speaks to us about being careful not to have action consciousness. Very often our involvement in Baba's service actually puts us into action consciousness. And so then it hasn't really served the purpose that we wanted it to. I think that we need to have a good understanding about all the different kinds of things that we can do and that we do, which is yoga. Some of you heard a presentation that I gave on the 4 stages of meditation. And that's actually a very good little set of exercises to do. These 4. The first one is called initiation, and the second one is called meditation, the third one is called concentration, and the 4th stage is realization. And there's a picture of that in the book that we have called Illustrations of Raj Yoga. And it's actually a very good process to follow. And so I'll just mention it very briefly, because you might like to use that. So the first stage, which is called initiation, is really a decision that you make to meditate. And I think it's very important for meditation to have a meditation place that you like. You know, those of you who live in the center, then you must have Baba's room there, right? And actually Baba's room is the heart of the center. And when we have very much attention on Baba's room, that's very good. You'll have a Baba's room which is big enough for enough people to sit there. 6, 7, 10, 15, 20, depends. And the Baba's room is the place where the most intense vibrations of the center are. And when we're in Pandabhavan, you know, Baba has told us the 4 pilgrimage places. And so when you go to any one of those 4 places, and Baba has identified the specialities of those 4 places, Baba's hut, Baba's room, Tower of Peace, History Hall. So these are the sacred most parts of Madhuban. And so when we are at our places wanting to develop our tapasya, to make our stage, to become karmati, to become bodiless, to have the intense experience of yoga, I think that our relationship with the Baba's room is very, very important. So when we go to Baba's room, you know, on the physical level, it has to be nice, it has to be clean, it has to be harmonious. It has to not have things wrong with it. You make them right. You know what I mean? And it has to be somewhere where you would want Baba to come. And so you who are in the center, you make it like that. You don't have a dead flower there. Right? You would make sure that every little part of it, to your capacity, is the most pleasant place for you to go and meet Baba. Yeah, so Baba will come there, that he will feel like coming there. Yeah? We have to make it attractive to Baba, so we have to know what he likes. Right? He likes clean. He likes love. He likes care. It's a relationship. And we sit there and we engage in our relationship with Baba in Baba's room. It's the foundation of our meditation. Our Amrit Vela may be there in Baba's room. In many centers we have our Amrit Vela in Baba's room. And then we offer Bhog in Baba's room. So this is where we bring the food that is made in remembrance, and we place it in front of Baba very nicely. Not crooked, or with the bowl cloth with stains on it or anything like that. Make it very, very nice. And this is a sign that it's important for you. And then you invoke Baba, you offer to Baba, you play some songs, you do everything nicely. This is going to make a huge difference to the overall quality of your yoga, you see. And if you're very precise, as Baba talks to us about this word accuracy, right? So if we're very accurate, then the activities that we do through the day will naturally fall in between traffic controls. So your activity will be completed and you'll be able to come into the traffic control because you'll be ready for it and it will be there for you. You kind of fit your rhythm of the day in between those traffic controls, the long ones and the short ones. And if you're really interested in yoga, you'll make sure that you have a system that plays the sound that reminds you, okay, now we will have traffic control. And you'll make your routine of the day very harmonious, very natural. Because if the yoga is good, the action flows naturally. If the action is intense, it jostles with the yoga and sometimes destroys the yoga. So our relationship between yoga and service has to be very balanced. Many people find this difficult because there's thousands of things you have to do, right? I have to do this and I have to do that and all this have to's interfere with yoga. And so how do we re-establish that balance? Is we have to be with Baba. Because we have made a promise, either in this birth or some other birth, or as well, I sleep with you, eat with you, walk with you, talk with you, spend time with you. Our activities are with Baba. Before we do something which is in our minds Baba's work or something that we really need Baba's influence, then we stop and we remember Baba and then we do that. Yes? You do that? Yeah. Because we say, okay, I am an instrument for Baba. So an instrument means we have to be very conscious that Baba is using me. And I am not doing this, but it is getting done through me somehow. And Baba is doing it through me. You be with Baba. So this first stage of meditation, this initiation part where you decide, okay, now I'm going to meditate, it's very much connected with all these other arrangements that we set up You know, you find some people who are not living in the center, and they have their own house, but it's so much Baba's house that you can't tell the difference between that and the center in terms of atmosphere, in terms of the way everything is set up. So that you always feel, okay, it may not be a center, but it's Baba's house, you see. So you have all these setups, and then the moment you decide, okay, now I'm going to sit for meditation, yeah, that's the initiation. And you may also, it's very, very good to decide on a theme for your meditation. And sometimes a person's yoga doesn't work very well because they try and meditate on too many things all at once. Because after all, meditation is to do with focus. So if we select a theme, every day Baba talks to us, we're Baba's students, every day Baba tells us some things which are food for the mind, which means they're also food for yoga. And so when we sit in class and we meditate before listening to the Murli, you're focused, you're prepared, and you're ready to take in knowledge that Baba, the teacher, is giving you. And while you're listening to the Murli, there's ways to listen to the Murli so that it is really yoga. And one Murli Baba had told us exactly how to listen to the Murli. So that as you listen to a point of the Murli, you actually experience the meaning of that point. Baba is the ocean, and the points that he gives are like waves from the ocean. So you go smoothly from one experience to another experience, and on the whole there's about 300 points in any Murli. So you can actually have 300 experiences in an hour and a half, or whatever much time it takes to listen to the Murli. And when you're listening to the Murli, in that rhythm of Baba's words, that flow of the music of the Murli, and you go into one experience and another experience, you become Trikaldarshi, you become Raj Rishi, you become soul conscious, you become aware that you're an instrument. All these different points Baba tells, he'll sometimes make a reference to a story, so you remember that story. So you can actually really listen to the Murli fully in yoga. And as you listen to the Murli, there will be a few points that really strike you. That, yeah, this is good to go into in my time of meditation during the day. And you know that churning is a very important part. And so the second stage, that which is called meditation, is really like churning. You decide on a theme, you decide to spend more time on that point in the Murli that struck you today. And you begin to think all the things that you know about that point. So that in this way, very systematically, you get your mind engaged in that subject. Okay, I really want to understand, what does Baba mean by be Trikaldarshi? Trikaldarshi, what is that? Seer of the three aspects of time, past, present, future. So think about it. And give yourself a task, a mental task, that you will think about that only. It's like exercise. And if you find yourself thinking something which is really not that subject, then you notice that, you bring it back. And the reason is because you want to be able to get your mind to be concentrated, unwavering. And how you concentrate your mind is by sticking to the theme that you have decided to think about. And there will be struggle. And struggle is due to rusty mind, getting the wheels of it to actually move in the direction that you want can be a struggle, because unless you're all the time doing it, there will be struggle. You get yourself into this habit of taking points and churning them, focusing on them, taking everything you know about that thing and going into it. You will find that it takes you naturally to the third stage, which is called concentration. And when you're in the stage of concentration, the thoughts are moving very freely, fast-flowing, and it's very, very interesting stage of yoga, because your mind is engaged, there is no distraction, there is no struggle, but you are really going with that theme, and you're going further and further until you really, really know that subject. And you find the way that Baba teaches us, the way that he teaches us to use our thinking process is actually circular. Once you go into the depth of any particular theme, you find that having concentrated fully, you'll kind of come full circle, and you'll arrive back at the beginning of your internal investigation of that theme. And once you have come full circle, you then pass into the fourth stage, which is the realization stage. Because having come full circle, you have understood and you have experienced the significance, the meaning, the feeling of that theme. Say, you really become Trikaldarshi, you see it from the inside, you know what he means, and you hold yourself in silence and stillness, being Trikaldarshi, and you nourish yourself with that. In the realization stage, you're still, you're focused, you're totally open to Baba. That's the time when you really take in the light and the might from Baba. And you feel at the end of that meditation, which may take an hour or two, that you've had a successful meditation. You may not have a visionary experience, or you may not feel blissed out or something like this, but you will feel a very deep satisfaction. Because I find the one thing that makes the soul deeply happy is when you truly understand something to the point where you know what that is, you feel what that is, you claim that to be your own. And then that goes into your being as a knowing. I call it a knowing. It's not just sort of intellectual understanding, but you know it because you've felt it, you've lived it, it is yours. You possess that. Baba says, be the spinner of the cycle of self-realization. And it's a huge subject. Sometimes you may want to take a huge subject like this and meditate on one thing for a month. One time I found myself very interested in the power to face. And so I gave myself this work to do, to focus on that power for 1 year, full year. It was very, very satisfying experience because, again and again and again, turning the mind to that one thing with the aim that I will have this, I will know this by the time I'm through, You give yourself work to do like this. There's a tremendous achievement comes when you stay focused on the task that you set yourself. And really by the end of the year, to really know what that is, to use it in many, many different situations, to see the different facets of it and how it operates. You see, it's a whole discovery. And that's a continuing meditation based in Gyan. You see, Baba gives us many different types of points of knowledge. Some of the points of knowledge are the philosophy that he tells us, the 5,000-year cycle, the I was a deity, then I passed through the different stages through the cycle. Now I am confluence-aged Brahman. What is Srimat? Huge subject. What is Srimat? How do I know it's Srimat? Do I like Srimat? Do I follow Srimat? Why do I follow Srimat? Do I want to follow Srimat, or does somebody want me to follow Srimat? What is my relationship with Srimat, you see? And all of these things come from Baba. So there you're having yoga with the teacher, with the source of the knowledge, you see, which is what Baba is. We don't get this knowledge anywhere else, you see. And he gives us knowledge in the Murli. It's tangible. It's black and white on a piece of paper. It's not something subtle. It's very physical, you see. And it's a very, very good entry point into the mind of Baba. If you want to have your mind connected with Baba, then you need to know what his mind is like. And he expresses his mind when he talks to us. He tells us what he knows, and he tells us who he is, and he tells us what he likes, and he tells us how everything works. He tells us he's the creator, and he knows the beginning, continuation and end of the creation, and he tells us that we're his students. So you can really enjoy that relationship with Baba in that way, and it will take you to him, you see. I don't know if you have ever seen, we have our BK logo, 16-ray Shiv Baba, right? You know this one, we all use it. And there is also a picture, 32 rays picture. And in each one of those rays is one of the aspects of Shiv Baba. Ocean of peace, ocean of bliss, creator, giver of the third eye, all the different points, 32 points. Now you can take, in a month, you can take one a day and go into, okay, he is bestower of the third eye. Today we heard about the third eye, yeah? Do you have a third eye? I remember when I was about 6 years old, I thought that's what I wanted, third eye. I heard about it, I said, yes, we want that. A small person. But I got it after a number of years, But then when we, as BKs, we learn what is the third eye. Because otherwise in spirituality, if you get the third eye, you got everything. And we have it. So then we have to see, he is the giver of the third eye. What is that? Who is he who gives it? Who am I who is given it to? because he didn't give it to the next door neighbors. He gave it to me. Why? Then sometimes we ask ourselves, he says to us, you have a special virtue, even if you don't have any other virtue, but you recognize Baba when he's in disguise. Because he's in disguise right now. There's no big, huge light in the sky, I am God, otherwise everybody could recognize it. But no, we somehow recognize Shiv Baba. So sometimes I think, do I have the capacity to recognize God? I said, no, it's not possible. He made it possible. Do you think? Can you recognize God all by yourself? I don't think so. Because if you could, then what about the rest of them? They should be able to also. They're probably more clever than us. But somehow we recognize Him, or He made it possible. He opened up our mind, made it possible for us to recognize Him. So, you see, this is a very important part of yoga, thinking of yourself as how Baba is looking at you, or what He is giving you. Why is He giving it to you? You see, because sometimes people worry, I think that God might have made a mistake. Because I am nothing special, right? Do you think that? But He can't make a mistake because He is God anyway, so He can't. So there's something. He said to me, okay, I will have you as my child, I'll have you as my student, I will use you as my instrument. So it makes us think about ourselves in a way that we wouldn't normally think about ourselves. I mean, we say, okay, I am the instrument of God. We can't say that. We say, I am instrument of God. Same words, but different attitude. So this is part of yoga, you see. And you take each and every one of these types of thoughts, your effort to figure out, why is He interested in you? And why are you interested in Him? Do you like God? Some people say, no, I don't like Him. But what are you doing in His class? You must like Him. Because Maya interferes in many ways in our thoughts, creating streams of thoughts that actually break the yoga. And so we have to become skilled in using actually the 8 powers. Baba gives us the 8 powers, but part of our yoga is to figure out, what are all these 8 powers and what are they for? And how do you use them? Each power is like a supercomputer. If somebody gives you a supercomputer and you don't know anything about them, you just about plug it in, and then what to do next? You don't know. How to play with it. So we have all these 8 powers. One of them, the power of discrimination or discernment. So we have to be able to discern if Maya is interfering in my yoga or not. Because some of us, we sometimes think, I am a very good yogi and all this and I'm doing great, and actually Maya is having a good time. We don't even know. Then we find ourselves off track. How we got there, we don't know. How to get back, we don't know. So we have these powers. Part of our yoga is actually our relationship with the Divine Family, and very much our relationship with the seniors, Because the yoga that we do is actually very subjective. It's very intuitive. And so it's actually quite easy to go off track. And we have this thought, is it not? Am I doing this right? Do you think like that? Am I doing this right? I mean, okay, you can do all the things physically, you're vegetarian, you get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, you write your chart, you do all the things, but still, am I doing this right? You may or may not be. How do I know if I'm doing this right? So there'll be certain criteria, certain indicators that will let me know if my yoga is right, you know. And some of them are very, very subtle also. But I think one of the valuable things that Baba has given us is the family. And why do we all come to Madhuban? Why do we come to Baba? We come to Madhuban to meet Baba. We come to Madhuban to meet the family. We come to Madhuban to meditate together, right? And we like meditating. I don't know, but I remember in this very room, we would have 1,000 of the top BKs in the world. 1,000. And you're sitting there in the middle of that 1,000 top super yogis, because they are, and meditating together with about 6 ultra super yogis sitting in front. The whole room lights up and the ceiling moves off. It's like that. I've sat here and done this, you know. And there's something very, very good about being with the large group of yogis doing yoga, you know, because when we meditate together like this, we're actually tuning ourselves up with each other. You see, this is how the harmonization of sanskaras is formed, is done. And yogis have the third eye. You see each other. And if we are off track, the others will see it. We might not see it, but they will let us know. And this is godly family love. Yeah. And even if they don't let us know directly, they'll let us know subtly. And the tuning up of us happens while we're here. This is why it's very, very important for us to come for our annual tune-up. You know, some of us have twice a year tune-up. And Madhuban time is different from other time. If you string all your Madhuban times together and leave out the in-between times, you have something very continuous. Have you tried that? It's a real thing, that because we are in confluence age. And so our yoga with Baba is very, very much connected to our relationship with each other, because Baba is a family person. And he has created this family, and he said, these are your brothers and your sisters. And he puts us in special configurations for service. He'll put us with the exact right people that's necessary to carry us to the next step. Have you noticed that? And he'll give us exactly the right difficulties that we need in order to cross some boundary or some barrier that is preventing us from getting to our final stage, our perfect stage. The yoga is a journey, a lifetime journey. It's called the pilgrimage. And the road is not straight. It's supposed to be like this, but it never is. Yeah. There's a lot of up and down in the journey of yoga. And we're also on this pilgrimage together, you see. And part of yoga is even like taking care of each other to some extent, you know. Because if everything doesn't work, you meditate. Right? I don't know if you've even experienced you having a meeting. When you have a meeting together for something or another, some service meeting, or you want some project or whatever, you have to start with meditation. And whenever you get to a block, then you have a meditation. And it unblocks it. So you have individual yoga, you have collective yoga, we have the yoga of the third Sunday meditation. Something that we do for the world. Which Daddy Janki was mentioning after the last Sunday's world meditation, that we sit here and there is a vibration that crosses all time zones, that goes through a 24-hour period of special yoga that is for the world, and it goes around the world. Yoga creates a vibration. It affects us physically. It affects the place where we are physically. I remember when there was a big earthquake in Mexico, everything fell down except Baba's room. I remember I was in a big one in Los Angeles. It was at 4:30 in the morning, so we were in Baba's room anyway. Everything fell down except us and it. So I said to them, okay, don't move, stay here. And we were fine, So there's something, Baba's room, Baba's atmosphere, that vibration, that bubble of Baba's remembrance inside which we move around, this protective space. When we don't have yoga, then our negativity comes back. When we do have yoga, Baba had told us one very good way to calculate our yoga. He told one day, you have 108 hours of yoga in a month. Minimum. So we calculated that's 3.5 hours a day. That's supposed to be minimum, right? 8 hours is what he would like us to do, and we look and we say, how can we do this? So if you say to yourselves, okay, let me do the minimum, and the minimum 3.5 hours a day can be done while still doing a full-time job, while still running the center activities and all the necessary things. And you can split up the day and include your evening meditation, your morning meditation, your traffic controls, just a little slight bit more than what you're supposed to do anyway, and you've got 3.5 hours a day. And then if you listen to the Murli in that yoga stage where you're really experiencing, then you'll find that it's not work. I think it's very important that our yoga is a daily thing. You see, because from time to time you have major disasters of Maya storms, or lots and lots of work to do all at once, or you get very sick, or things happen which interfere with our routine. But they come once in a while. Now they're coming thick and fast, but this measured daily routine that Baba has taught us to have is a very powerful force, a very powerful momentum, so that when anything does disturb it, we can come back to it, you see. So I remember in the early days of my BK life, Daddy Janki said to me, if you can do Amrit Vela properly every day, then you can do anything. Anything. No limit. And so she gives maximum importance to that, So in order to have a good Amrit Vela, you have to kind of work backwards. You see, so the previous day determines your next morning's Amrit Vela, and your Amrit Vela of that morning determines the rest of your day. So factoring in this 3.5 hours of yoga, just sitting, you see, and giving yourself just that basic sitting, and getting your mind to use the Murli, and then talk to Baba. Do you talk to Baba? Yeah. Because, you know, he listens. He's interested. And if you talk to Baba, he will also talk to you. He will come into the picture of Brahma Baba, and he will communicate with you in a very subtle way. And every one of us has experienced this, you see. But if we make Baba the important one, then you see, he says, yoga begets yoga. So we give attention and time to Baba, then he intensifies our experience. But it doesn't work to just say, okay, like today I'm going to have maximum yoga, and then the other days it doesn't matter. It's the daily thing, building that daily thing, that really makes a difference. So you can calculate your 3.5 hours quite easily, right? Instead of 45 minutes Amrit Vela, you do 60 minutes. Your 1 hour is right there. You come and you sit half an hour before the Murli, 1.5 hours. You add up all your traffic controls, that's, 20 minutes or so, half an hour. You offer Bhog, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. You give yourself an hour evening meditation, and you sit for a half an hour before you sleep, and you review your day. You've got pretty much 3.5 hours, you see. And in between you can do all the things you have to do. So it's combination. You see, Baba says, have all relationships with me. That means engage with Baba in all variety of ways, so that the movement through your day, through your night, your interaction with people and everything, you kind of look at it that you are with Baba. He says, I am with you. We have this companion of God concept. Dari Janki and Dari Gulzar speak to us of being combined with Baba. Baba himself says, adopt the combined form. Being with. Being with, then you have courage. Being with, then you're not alone. A yogi likes solitude. Being careful is another part of yoga. Being careful what you say, being careful where you go, being careful what you do. Giving yourself a direction of life which follows the direction of Brahma Baba. You see, we know something about him from the different stories that we hear, and the people who tell us their experience of him. But then you also have your own experience. And begin to live with him. You say, okay, I'm a Brahmin, and I am Baba's child, I am Baba's student, Baba is my friend, and Baba is my colleague in the business of creating fortune. Having all these things makes you very tied in with Baba. You see, all of this is yoga. You see, all of it. Now, you may occasionally get an amazing visionary experience. These are peak experiences. If you think that you have to have those 7 times a day, you're mistaken. You may have it 7 times in your whole Brahman life. But those experiences are so powerful that they remain in your memory and they nourish your yoga for a long, long time. Unforgettable moments, you see. And whenever you experience that you don't have any yoga, I'm sure you experience sometimes there's nothing happening, right? And what to do? Go into those memories. Even Baba had said one time, open up the book of your story. Read your story in the book of your story in your mind. That will put you back into yoga. Anytime you do service, anytime you are telling Baba's introduction to another human brother or sister, you're telling that person about Baba, it will activate your yoga, you see. And it's also very pure karma. It's the purest of all karmas is to introduce a soul to themselves and to Baba. And then by doing that, you experience happiness. And when you experience happiness because of Baba, your yoga is connected, you see. So we have to be very sensitive to doing service in such a way that it doesn't become an instrument to disconnect our yoga. So there has to be balance of yoga and service, but service also has to be such. You know, Baba has said, if we do service and all the people involved in that are not satisfied, then it wasn't service. And because creating satisfaction in others is how he describes service, you see. And I think the greatest satisfaction a person can have is when you're very connected, very harmonious with another soul in the remembrance of Baba, you know. And there's like a triangle effect. Or we learn, you know, to relate to each other with Baba in between. I mean, all of us, some of us have been in Gyan, Westerners have been in Gyan 30, 35 years, you see. So we came along in our 20s and now we're heading in our 60s, you got old people. And we've had this whole life together, you see. Maybe we see each other only when we're in Madhuban, or we just interact with each other when we have some service project together. In fact, we create service projects together so that we have a reason to interact. Because, hello, how are you? If we're not doing it because of Baba, we don't really need to do it. Because our relationship with each other is because the same Father gave birth to us and put us together in the family, So we don't really have our relationships with each other. If it wasn't for Baba, we wouldn't know each other. Would we? Someone from this country, someone from that country, someone from that country, the other country sitting together, having breakfast and very deeply connected because of Baba. You see, this is how he's creating civilization and creating family. And we stand by each other, we take care of each other because this is Baba's child. So we have a special affinity. And because of that vibration that is generated by Baba's remembrance, you see. And when I was just a couple of days ago, I was spending 3 days with Dadi Gulzar, just like that. 3 days with Dadi Gulzar. Can you imagine what that is? And she is just so pure. And we didn't have anything to do really except celebrate Diwali in a very, family way. And just being with her, and she'll look at you, like there's one of the diva lights of the soul just coming right at you, So you're staying with most purest yogi who actually stays 8 hours a day in Baba's remembrance. She's a very silent soul. Yeah? You spend time with such a being and such an atmosphere and vibration just like that. What's going to happen? Something, you're going to be altered. You're going to be freshened. You're going to be purified, as a matter of fact. You see? And so this is a special thing, but difficult to put words on because it's very subtle and very beautiful and very amazing. And it sits there as an item that's fixed in the drama every 5,000 years. So that's nice. This is also yoga, right? This is Baba's chariot. So whenever you see Dari Gulzar, what do you think? You think Bap Dada, right? And so thousands of different ways to add to our yoga, so that ultimately being in yoga and being you is all the same thing. Yeah? And when we talk to each other about these things, that also increases our yoga, our sensitivity to the implications of what we have. We have such an extraordinary thing we sometimes don't realize because we're used to it. It's like incense. You can't smell it after a while. So you have to put more and more and more. So sometimes we just think we have to have very extreme experiences. But no, it's not like that. They will come, Baba will give them to us in His own sweet time. We cannot make ourselves have a peak experience, but the work that we do on an ongoing basis will bring us to that stage. Om Shanti. So it's just about 7 o'clock and Daddy Janki is going to come and join us for meditation. So I'm going to stop now and we'll have our meditation together, and then Daddy will speak to us.